All right, so it's all cured up. The easy part is done. Let's do some milling, get everything nice and square, flat, and to the right dimensions. Then we're gonna do some sanding, put a top coat finish on it, and then just mount it on the wall. So let's get to it. The first step was to take off the excess material that was on one side of the wood. There was quite a bit left over there, and the planer would have taken quite a few passes just to get rid of that. So the bandsaw made quick work of it. Luckily, the bottom was nice and stable after taking it out of the mold, so I went to the planer and milled the top and bottom flat. After that, I headed over to my drum sander to get rid of the milling marks. That planer can leave some gouges in there, and the drum sander, if you have one, is such a nice thing. It'll clean all of that up. But if you don't have a drum sander, it's not a big deal. You can just use a random orbit sander or a belt sander, and everything will be nice and smoothed out from the planer. Next, I went over to the table saw and cleaned up all of the edges and cut the shelf to length. After looking at the square edges, I decided it might be a good idea to add bevels to the edges instead of just being square. I thought it'd add some interest and give it a lighter feel after it was actually hung up on the wall. The next step was to drill holes for the mounting hardware. I decided to try out the Rockler drilling jig. It's kind of a new piece that they came out with, and I figured that would help keep the holes nice and straight. You're kind of drilling a big hole and pretty deep in the edge of the shelf there. It worked okay, but I think you could go with a cheaper version of a drilling jig and it would do the same exact job. Now the jig wouldn't allow the full length, so I finished up the holes by hand. I then checked to make sure that the pins fit into the holes that I just drilled, and then I marked the edges of the hardware and nibbled away some of the material with the table saw so the shelf would sit flush on the wall. Now it's time for the moment of truth. I marked out and mounted the hardware on the wall, and then I tested to make sure that everything lined up. Success! The shelf slid onto the pins a little bit tight, but it was actually quite nice. It's definitely not going to be coming off of them. All that was left was to sand and apply the top coat. I took my random orbit sander and sanded up to 600 grit on all sides, and then also hand sanded the edges up to 600 grit. I also wiped off the grit that was left over with water in between each grit. For the top coat, I used Alumilite's ACC Plus, or Amazing Clearcast Plus. It's got UV inhibitors in it, and it'll help to keep the resin from yellowing. Also, this product was actually meant for this type of application off the bat. It's kind of a bar top epoxy, or like kind of a countertop epoxy, made for putting kind of a top coat on something else. So this will work perfect, and it'll keep it nice and clear for the long run. The application is really easy on this. You just dump it on and spread it around with a glove. There may be better ways to do this. I know that you can maybe use kind of a trowel or kind of, move it around with something else. But honestly, this is so simple that I think for most people, this is a great way to go. Once it was totally covered and smoothed out, I torched it to remove any surface bubbles. I let it cure for about a week, and then I mounted it on the wall the same way, just using those pins, sliding it on, and then I added some fun projects that I've made over the years to put on top of my shelf. So there it is. It's all finished up. It's looking fabulous, holding some of the projects that I've made over the years. This is so awesome. It's going to be in all the videos. I'm pretty stoked about this one. And it was a pretty cool project. I like that shelf size, right? It's kind of like the next step. Maybe you might want to do you know, like a resin and wood cutting board is maybe your first, you know, dip your toes in that kind of epoxy world. And then this is kind of in the middle of, you know, the next launching step into a table. You know, you're not wasting a ton of money on epoxy. And it's not a huge thing. That's actually one of the problems I've had. I've never even made a river table because like it would take over my shop basically. And I got a pretty decent sized shop. So for a lot of people, I think a table size project might be kind of tough, but a shelf, totally doable. And you can put it in your shop, you can put it in your house. Pretty cool project. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this one come together. I know it was kind of a weird video series, but part of the reason that this one was so much later than the last part, and I'll put links to all I think they were mostly live streams, but I'll put links to all the other earlier ones, pouring the you know, the blank and all that kind of stuff. The reason this one was late is because I knew it would be a good idea or a good type of video to try out a voiceover. I've never done that on my channel before, and I thought, you know, I've been wanting to do that, and I finally kind of have a place where I can actually get it done now. Like edit the videos and do the voiceovers. So let me know down in the comments what you think. Did you like that format? I'm sure that the first one is probably not good necessarily, you know, quality. I'm sure there's lots of room for improvement, but overall in general, how did you feel about that? Because I'm thinking about doing that. I think you can convey a little bit more information than just like subtitles or just nothing. So I'm thinking about doing a little bit more of that. Let me know if you want to see more of that. Hit that thumbs up button. If you don't, hit the thumbs down, or let me know down in the comments. That'll be awesome. So I hope you guys enjoyed, like I said, I hope you enjoyed seeing this one kind of finally come to fruition. There it is. And pretty cool. I hope you guys try it out too. Let me know if this is a project that you might want to do for yourself. I think that it's something a lot of people can do. So make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you don't miss any of the new upcoming videos, and as well as when I go live on my on the live stream on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. That's when we do live streams. But every once in a while, I do like kind of just a spur of the moment one, or the timing might be a little different on those Wednesdays. So make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you're thinking about getting into resin casting, but you're not really sure where to begin, check out my ebook, The Beginner's Guide to Resin Casting. It answers all those beginner questions, like what do I need to get started? How does it all work? It'll kind of help you get over that initial learning curve. And what I've found is a lot of people just don't take the plunge. Like there's a lot of information out there. They don't really know exactly what direction to go. And so they just never get started. This is the book for you if you're in that position. That way you'll get the baseline understanding of what do you need to know, and then get out there and start resin casting. So that's available on my website if you are interested. So I guess until next time, guys, thanks for watching this video, and happy casting.